Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Veil. As you will see, we have had a channel name change and we've had a logo change and we've had a banner change on the channel. So that is the first of several changes that are going to be occurring with podcast. So we will, in the new year, be dropping twice weekly. So we're going to be dropping a video on Friday nights at 7 p.m. and we're going to be doing a live stream on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. So look forward to that in the new year. Until then, everything's going to remain the same with regards to the format. If we're ahead of the 8 ball with our planning and executing of our changes, then we'll do it before the new year. But at this stage, we're looking at the new year for it. But we've got some amazing topics coming up. We've broadened our horizons on what we're talking about. So that's going to be cool too. I'm really excited.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is exciting stuff. So I have to excuse my redness. It looks like I'm sunburnt, although I've had a few wines or something. I haven't even had anything to drink. So I don't know what this redness is about, but I'm looking a little bit flushed there. Anyway, So tonight...
What mystically drinking mine?
I'm ciphering yours from a distance, yeah. Tonight we're going to be talking about the investigation that we held at Masters Hall back late August. Thank you to Bunny that actually put us on to Pahiatua Hospital, or Masters Hall as it's now called. And thank you to Kels, who approached the owners and set up the investigation. That was really awesome of both of you, and we really appreciate it. Just like to say welcome to a few people. So Bunny, hi. We've already said hello, but I'll say it again. Lona Muffin, nice to see you in again. And Stephen, hey, how you doing, mate? So we did the investigation at Masters Hall end of August. It's Kels, who you will, 26th of August it was, yeah.
Right.
Kels, July. I beg your pardon, July. Whoa, the months are getting away on me. So 26th of July we did it, and we spent 48 hours there. As I said, Kels was the one that set it up for us, and she's Quantum's lead investigator. And Bunny hooked me onto it, one of our followers. So thanks, Bunny. And we invited Central Hawke's Bay Paranormal Society, Stephen and Corey, and paranormal researchers, Barbara and Ian, and also Natasha, independent investigator who used to be on Paranormal Pals. We invited them to come along and explore it with us. And we had 48 hours there doing that on 2 incredibly cold nights. Hey, Susie.
It was freezing.
It was freezing. Where we were staying, it was lovely and warm, but the hospital is actually what's left of a couple of the wards was quite large. So if no one was staying in there, they didn't turn the heating on to save costs, obviously. So when we were in the 3 other parts of the hospital, which was Ward 1 and Ward 2 and the nurses' quarters, it was very, very cold. And it had been very cold before we arrived, both where we were all living, and had been very cold down there because the owners actually warned me to bring our winter woolies with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a few of the pictures, and Susie and I will tell you what part of the hospital that was. And then we're going to talk about some personal experiences that Susie and I had, and some of the experiences other investigators had. And that's about it. So if you share your presentation of the photos, and then you can start talking about where they are.
Yep, that's coming. It's coming. It's just
It's coming. It's coming.
There we go. There it is.
Cool.
Right,
so that tower, go back, Suze, one.
Oh, go back.
Yeah, that tower there is a water tower, and you can't get up it because the ladder that goes up the side of it is very, very unstable. But we didn't realize that it had lights on the top of it, which looked absolutely fantastic in the evening. So that's what that first photo is. The second photo is of one of the hallways with my laser grid on it. And the third one is WHB stands for, what would it be?
Wairarapa Health Board.
Wairarapa Health Board, which is the area where the county or state, if you like, the area where the hospital was situated.
Awesome.
You can explain this one, Suze.
So this is the same photo, both sides. This is an aerial photograph of the hospital taken in, I think, 1949. I don't know if you can see the text in the right-hand one very well, but this building over here was the original nurses' home, which was actually demolished in the 1980s. The original hospital building, built in 1902, is this front piece here. And the corner part, just in this bit here, or you can see outlined here, was demolished in the 1990s. What else have we got? So the gardener's caretaker's shed is sort of down here. The main kitchen is through here, which still exists, and that was where we sort of set ourselves up for a while. You can see the water tower here. The old operating theatre is at the end of this building here. And a physio and x-ray area was just in the front of it. Right down the bottom here, we had the matron's quarters on the end, and the nurse's quarters was on this larger end. Coming back a bit, this little piece that sticks out is the birthing suite. The maternity ward ran through the middle with a general ward on the end, which was Ward 2. And then this other little building off to the side was the domestic quarters, which was demolished a few years back, I believe.
Cool. And just to also say as well that big building on the front left-hand side, right at the front there, that was the geriatric ward and the nursing home area. Should I say, not the geriatric ward, it was the nursing home area. That's been demolished for some years now. And the area in the middle that Susie said was the main hospital area that was built in 1902, that actually housed the second lot of operating theatres. And it was where you checked in, literally, when you came to the hospital. And that is now the owner's private residence. We stayed in Ward 1, which is what building, Suze?
I think it's actually replaces where this building was and comes through here.
No, where we stayed.
Yeah, so it comes off, it was basically where this sort of area here is. It's built on, so it's after this photo. Because there's the angled corridor that we went out into, and then the start of the private residence there. So it was actually in this space here.
Because it wasn't, that part was built in the 1960s, I think, from memory.
Yeah, I think that sounds.
And where Susie said was the caretaker's residence, that actually, and the morgue was actually right next to the caretaker's residence.
This is the original morgue here.
Yeah, and that was knocked down, and then the morgue was moved over to the left-hand side off the picture, where the stables were. And at the end of the stables was what became the caretaker's residence. So there's been an awful lot of moving and shifting, and buildings getting demolished and buildings getting added on, and buildings being changed basically from their uses throughout the decades.
Absolutely.
Okay, where you go? Oh,
Says the originals.
well, that's an old one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mega old one.
Yeah. So the one on the top right, where are we? Here. This photo was taken in 1913. So, yeah, a few years after the original was built.
Yeah, I'll say
I'm
it
not
was.
quite sure about these other two pictures, that they're quite early as well. And how
These ones aren't early. These ones are some of the photos that were taken when we were there. So you can see in the right-hand side, the biggest photo, the big white building right at the front there with that canopy, and there's a car parked underneath the canopy. That was actually the main hospital area, those two buildings. And then the one right at the back, which is attached to the main hospital building, was where we were staying in Ward 1.
And we stayed,
that
we
one,
stayed
yeah.
yeah.
You can see the water tower in the background over there. Oh, put your cursor right over on the far right, Suze, because that's where the stables and the morgue is now. Yeah.
So the stables and the morgue in the back.
The morgue had been moved 3 times. It was that standalone building that Susie showed first, and then it was moved into another area, and then it was finally moved down the back there.
Yeah, and you can actually see the chimney for the incinerator there as well. Very.
Oh, yes, very you can too, yeah.
And I think this one was the sort of the main entrance towards the end of the hospital's life, wasn't it?
I can't remember, to be quite honest, Susie. A lot of it's a blur. I know it was a nice little sun trap.
It was.
It was a really good place to get warm in the mornings.
Definitely.
And that bottom picture on the left-hand side, that ramp, that's actually where we were staying. And that area there was like a communal lounge, those windows right at the front of the building. And then the one on the right-hand side is actually the main building that was first built in 1902, which is now the owner's residence, which is attached to the Ward 1 area, but has, hospital swing doors, but they're completely bolted and closed off so that there's no access that can be gotten through except from the other side when the owners want to open it.
And that top one there is the maternity and children's ward, I believe.
Which was Ward 2.
Ward 2, yeah. The beloved water tower. The stables in the background.
Beloved water tower, yeah. And just, isn't there, is it by the water tower? I can't remember, where the access to the underground tunnels was. I can't remember. But
yes, just round behind the other side of it. So just along through there and round sort of under this building, basically. But we didn't seem to get any photos of that, unfortunately.
Somebody took some photos. I think Lois might have, or someone took a photo of Lois, or someone took a photo of it.
I didn't have one when I put the presentation together, so.
Well, we don't want the presentation to go on and on and on.
No, we don't. The morgue?
The morgue. So there was 2 parts to the morgue. This part here with the lovely little crosses, which I thought actually was a nice touch, was the area where the viewing room. It was the part of the morgue that gave access to the viewing room. There was interior doors that opened up into the actual morgue area, but we couldn't get in there because it was, right there, because it was floor to ceiling jam-packed with storage stuff, and there was no way we could get in there. Oh, look, there's our K9 team member, Pepper, or one of them. And incidentally, the morgue was where Stephen was going to sleep, and he was adamant he was going to sleep there, and then it just got so cold that towards the end of the night, he was like, yeah, no, I don't think. We kept saying to him, you're going to freeze. You're going to freeze. And he was like, no, I'll be all right. I'm from Scotland. And then he goes, no, I've decided I'm not. It's just too cold, which none of us blamed him for. Yeah, none of us blamed him for that at all.
No.
Not a chance. Yeah, not a chance, Stephen. Yep. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So this is the incinerator.
Yes, there were three layers to it, wasn't there?
One
was overgrown. Was it just two?
Two, yeah. And there was steps going up the side to get onto the top, I believe, but it was very overgrown, and they didn't recommend we walked up there because they couldn't guarantee that it was stable. So they asked us not to go up there, which we didn't bother to. But it was obvious that where they've got the wood, which is in the first area, I think the wood would have been put in the bottom area. And I mean, the incinerator, obviously, I'll leave it to your imagination why the incinerator was used, but I think we all know why there was an incinerator on site and what it was used for.
That concrete patch at the top, I think there were 3 chambers. I might have to look that up. And I think that was the original chamber at the top that's been concreted up.
Oh, okay.
That one was where the fire was, and the ash dropped down into the bottom. Isn't that what she said? I don't know if Stephen or anyone.
I really can't remember now.
I'm pretty sure they said there were 3 chambers, and I think that top one's been filled in.
Yes, Lo, it was so flipping cold. I remember at one stage, Lo handing me a piece of equipment, and her hand was just shaking. And I said to her, are you that cold? And she goes, yeah, I'm freezing. And that's when I called it. And I said, right, that's it, guys. We'll call it a night.
Hey, Trace, do you remember what they said was their busiest time and how many patients and staff were on site?
They did say, and I can't remember. Was it 500?
Might have to go back and check, look that up, and come back to you, Lona.
It is massive. What's left of it is massive. And you got to remember too that the actual nursing home no longer exists, which was a 2-story building in itself, right at the front, where they now have the dressage arena, which is no longer hasn't been used for a number of months, years, and has all just gone to paddock now. Cool.
Apparently we're not moving on. Yes, we are. There we go.
Okay, so this first photo, although it's actually where Lois and I saw what we saw, the person who's taking this photo is actually standing in there in the exact spot that we saw what we saw. But these double doors here actually lead through to where we were staying, which was all hospital rooms. All of them were hospital rooms, and you can quite easily tell that they were. It still very much looks like a hospital. And so that was Ward 1, and these hallways down here were off Ward 1. And they would look, you couldn't even see. I remember when we got the tour and we came out of those double doors, and walk. I just assumed that we just had that small area to investigate, but when we walked around the corner, we couldn't even see the end of the corridor, and we were all just like, I think we all gasped and took a
Yeah.
breath. And
I
then
think that
beyond that corridor was another ward completely, and then beyond that ward was the nurses' home, the nurses' accommodation, and the sisters' flat. So we had quite an expansive place to investigate, although it was very echoey in parts. So particularly if someone was at one end of the hallway and somebody else was at the other.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the conference room. So the entrance, if I go back, you can just see in that third photo, the doorway there that goes into the entrance to the conference room. It had its own little sort of foyer area. And I think Tracy and Lois, you guys felt something in there. Initially I didn't, but when I went back later on, I did. So that was a very interesting room there. What was that originally used for, Trace? I mean, it's now a conference room, but
I can't remember what she told us. We just got bombarded with so much information when we did the tour. It was really difficult. We probably should have walked around with a recorder. But it was really difficult to remember everything that was said. But it was, they turned up and said, right, are you ready? And so that was it. We just went womb and off we went.
yeah.
I
Bunny's
can't
just
remember.
something giving me the willies.
There's something giving me the willies. Well, I can tell you something gave Lois and me the willies.
Yeah.
When
And
we
Pepper.
walked in there. And then Susie and Pepper came in and there was nothing. And even Lois and I turned around and said, oh, it feels completely different now. This did not feel like this when we just walked into it 15 minutes ago. And then I think it was the next night, was it? You went into it, or late in the wee hours of the morning, you walked back into it with Pepper, and both Susie and Pepper reacted.
Yeah, it was on our way back. So I think it was just after midnight. Early hours of the morning, I noticed something. And so that was one of the first places I went back to on the Sunday morning. And Pepper picked up something on the Sunday morning too. In broad daylight when I took these photos. She was not a very happy puppy. And I was, it was quite eerie.
Lois and I just got a really creepy vibe and a distinct impression that we were not welcome in there. And so we did leave immediately. And rather quickly, I might add.
I sat on the floor for about 10 minutes and then very quickly left. All right. Trace, do you want to have a chat about this one?
Yep. So this was the dining room, which at night looked lovely because they had lots of those fairy lights all wrapped around along the beams and all wrapped around the posts. But this is where we set up all our equipment. And it was kind of like what we used as our base. So we were going back and forward frequently throughout the night, swapping over equipment, catching up with other investigators that were off doing their thing, and generally using it just as our base for the evening. I can't remember what it was before it was the dining room now.
The physiotherapy and orthotics area.
Orthotics, that's right.
And where that fire exit sign is the back at the back. That was one of the surgical theatres.
That's where Ian from Paranormal Researchers slept for the night. I think we've got a photo of that coming up, and we'll explain to you about that in a minute.
Of the room, not of him sleeping. There it is.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so this was one of the original operating theatres. So you'll see that there's 4 ceiling lights there. In between those ceiling lights was a wall, and you can actually see how the wall has been removed. So there was 2 operating theatres here. And just before you walk into the room on the left were 2 showers and 2 scrub sink. So that's where the surgeons and the nurses scrubbed up before they went into the operating theatre. Where this picture, or where the person who took this picture is standing from, behind them would have been an exit door. And so the exit door led down a ramp, and straight across the courtyard was the morgue. So if you didn't make it in the 2 operating theatres, there was a small recovery room. And if you didn't make it out of the recovery room, the door was right there for you to be wheeled out, down the ramp, and across the concrete courtyard to the morgue. So just to let you know, Bunny has stayed there. And she says the presence is so strong at times, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And there's Pepper having a wander through what? This was Ward 2?
This was the start of the maternity ward.
Ward 2, yeah.
Yeah. So I think was it that door there that she didn't want to go into? Oh no, it was the next corridor along.
And I just want to check with Stephen, because my memory is very foggy on this. But Stephen, is this roundabout the space where we got those readings of EMF and the temperature drops? I mean, Stephen is playing Uber driver for the kids tonight, so he may not be on. And yes, Stephen, that is the corridor that she backed out of, I believe.
I think this is the first corridor off the main adjoining one. I think the one she backed out of was the next one that had a little kink in it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was the next one round. So this is the one before that. But I don't seem to have one of that next. I don't think. Okay. Or I might have got it confused.
So now that I know Stephen is here, Stephen, was that the area where we got, you guys were getting hits? Yep. Okay, cool. Yep. Thanks. So Stephen and Corey were getting some hits on a K2. So I don't trust the K2. So I went back to the dining room and I grabbed the Mal, or Lois went back to the dining room and grabbed the Mal. I think I did that occasion. And I came back up and I took readings with the Mal. Now, what happened first was I got what I would call a significant temperature drop. I don't look, with temperature drops, I don't look at anything that is under a 2. And with EMFs, I don't look at anything that is not over a 1.5 or 2 and above. So here, at exactly the same time, I got a temperature drop of over 3 degrees instantly. And at the same time, I got an EMF reading of 2.7, I think it was, from memory. And then it disappeared. So I walked up a little bit further and I got it again. So I walked back and I got it a third time, which was a little bit odd. And it wasn't just a temperature drop and it wasn't just an EMF. It was in tandem. The 2 worked in tandem. Now, I've used the Mal meter for decades and I have rarely got readings off the Mal meter. I trust that piece of equipment, I have to say. Pretty much more than any other piece of equipment that there is, or any gadget that there is on the market. I do trust my Mal and my Mal meter, and I never have had readings like that before or in tandem. Now, I did all the walls with my Mal meter. I did the floor with my Mal meter, and at the end of that hallway, behind where Pepper's standing, there was a ring main unit in there, and the door was locked up. And I know it's in there because we had been taken in and shown, and I've got some photos of it that I took for my boss because I work in the electricity network industry. And it was a very, very old ring main unit. And I even went up to that door and took a reading of the door with my meter, and I think I got a 0.8 coming from that door. So I didn't even get anywhere near the same EMF reading. As I say, I did the walls, I did the floor, and the EMF reading dropped and was no longer there. It went down to 0. Now, Stephen was over my shoulder and he saw this occur. So I think it was on 3 separate occasions in different areas throughout that hallway, I got those readings. So it was almost like I was walking through something and it was in different parts. It was like it was moving. That's the only way that we could describe it at the time.
100%.
So we did do the debunk, we did do the walls, we did do the floor, and there was no readings from any. And yes, the readings did change. The EMF disappeared completely and the temperature dropped right down to nothing. It was only when I was walking and I had it at waist height, chest height, that I was getting these readings. So the fact that it could have been the ring main unit has been debunked. Drafts would not give, and I've done some research into this since, drafts do not give a huge temperature drop of 3 degrees or more. And believe you me, there were no drafts. There was no curtains moving in the rooms when the doors were open, so there were no drafts that we saw around the area that we had the readings. So something was wandering. Now, that will also, or should I say, let's just say the readings were moving. That also kind of ties in with Pepper, our K9 team member, reactions. So, Susie, if you want to go over Pepper's reactions in this area.
I'll do that in just a sec. Do we want to just take a quick look there at Bunny's comment? My friend Audrey was about 11 and in the children's ward, and she wanted to go do something further down the corridor and she couldn't. She was frightened of something in the corridor.
Oh, that's interesting, Bunny.
So
I think you've told me that before.
Yeah.
And the area that you showed me was the exact area where Lois and I saw a huge grey mist. The exact area. I was quite shocked when you sent that photo through and told me this story because I hadn't actually said anything to Bunny about what we'd seen or experienced at the time, but it was exactly the same area. Sorry?
Was that down the other end?
That was down, the double doors where we walked through into our accommodation area.
Yeah.
That was down in that corner in that big alcovey area.
Oh, there you go. That would have been Big Bastard that Sam's seen.
So Sam is Bunny's son. So he said that he'd seen something there. I don't know exactly what it looked like to Sam, but Lois and I were sitting on the bench seats. I don't know if you saw in the photo, there was some bench seats, and we were sitting on the bench seats and we were looking left and we were looking right and we were doing an EVP session. So I would ask a question and then Lois would ask a question. When I asked the question, I got 2 knocks, I think it was, or 1 knock right next to me. And it was a substantial, loud, clear knock. When Lois asked a question, she got the knock right next to her. Because we were moving our heads and we were looking both ways, as we're sitting there instead of looking at the wall, Lois said to me, in both directions, it was as black as can be. There was no light reflecting in from anywhere. There was no lights on in the hallway. We looked at that alcove area, and it was jet black. And then about, 8 minutes later, Lois said to me, "Has it gone foggy down there?" And I turned and I said, "Where?" And she goes, "Down there." So I turned around where she was looking, and I went, "Yes. Yes, it has." It had gone from a pitch black color, which was just the way it was because there was no lights on, to a very foggy grey mist, which was enormous. It literally filled up that whole entrance area. Later on, paranormal researchers and Natasha came to us when we were sitting in the lounge and said, "Oh, we think we've debunked it. it was the lights. And I said, what lights? And they said, the lights from in here. And I said, well, the lights from in here weren't on. There was absolutely no lights from where we were staying in our accommodation area that were on. It was in pitch darkness. I think the kitchen light was on or something, but that was it. And how we noticed it was because it had gone from black as black to this grey, misty, foggy space. And no one had been in our accommodation area. No one was in our accommodation area, and there was no lights anywhere that were on that could actually cause any sort of light reflection coming through the two hospital-looking glass panels that were in the doors. There was a big window a little bit further down from us and across, but again, all that had was building walls around it. It was like a very small courtyard area. And there was no light in that area either. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the experience Pepper and I had down this corridor, or further down and around a little bit, and I can't remember, Stephen might be able to correct me. I think it was room 8 that Pepper stuck her nose in and very quickly pinned her ears back, pinned her tail down, backed out really quick. She was not in that room.
It was room 6, because I remember you telling me straight away.
So, yeah, room 6. It was 6 or 8. I should have written it down straight away. Backed out, didn't want to go down there. We carried on down the corridor, got to the end, went into the room at the end, and coming back, she looked in there, stuck her head in, walked in, had a bit of a sniff, wasn't bothered. Carried on. When I went back quite late in the evening, would have been, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock at night with Stephen and Corey. Oh, there you go, room 6. Yes, and she was okay going into it later. She happily went in, had a good sniff around and looked around, happy as Larry. But the room opposite, she was hesitant, and there was a cabinet in the corner, and she sort of stuck her nose in and backed up, stuck her nose in and backed up. Went in, had a sniff at the cabinet, but sort of half pinned her ears and backed out. So whatever it was in that area definitely moves, because for her to respond, ears pinned right down and back out, she's not a particularly fearful dog. That was, quite a sign. And then to go in there later on as if nothing had happened, was really interesting.
It was, yeah. And that's just, interestingly enough, I said it was really interesting at the time when Stephen and I were getting those Melmeter readings and how they were moving. I was standing there taking it and it disappeared. So I kept walking, and then bang, it would go up again. And then it would disappear. So I'd turn around and walk back, and then I'd hit it again. And it was in different places that I hit it. It wasn't in the same place.
Yeah. I think when I had your Melmeter quite late at night, in the night when I went into the conference room, I came down here to check that room that had all the old electrical equipment and switchboards and stuff, and the Melmeter didn't register. There was nothing.
I got a 0.7, but because it's a ring main unit, if we had all the lights off, they were probably in bed as well. There wouldn't have been much. There still would have been a current going through it, but there was no usage of anything.
Yeah.
So that would have changed that, I would assume.
Yeah, because I just wanted to double check that.
I can talk to my boss about that anyway to get that confirmed.
And that right-hand photo is the sort of covered outdoor walkway to the nurses' quarters. And the photo on the left there is the corridor in the matron's area, and the right photo is the matron's living room, which was pretty fancy for the time.
Yeah, she had a nice little flat. When you walked up the stairs, if you turned right, it went into her flat, which had a lounge, a bedroom, and a kitchen, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
If you turned left, it went down another hallway, which there was rooms off, which was the nurses' quarters. And this area here, I believe, was the nurses' lounge from memory.
Yeah, right at the end, yeah. Yeah.
So they had a fairly good setup there.
Yeah. So that is the hallway and the nurses along the nurses area, I think, from memory.
I think it is too, yeah. And there's Lois, the back of Lois, and the back of me. And I think this is when we were getting the tour.
This is when we were
Actually.
getting the tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one on the right is the walkway between the maternity and nurses. So it's sort of a closed and outdoor area. And Pepper's always seemed very curious, for want of a better
About
word,
that area. Yeah.
about the area. Yeah. And I had a bit of an experience there, but we might talk about that a bit later.
Okay. Oh, wait 1 second.
Oh.
I wasn't aware of this, but Stephen had his video camera in the nurse's corridor fully charged and it drained in about 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I have to say it was very cold and temperatures under a certain degree can and often do
drain equipment.
Explain the drain of equipment, and it was really cold that night. So that could have easily been the reason why your camera drained.
5 minutes is still very quick, though.
So that might be Stephen in the corridor there, is it? Stephen and you?
Yep, that's Stephen, me, Pepper, and I don't know who that is behind us with the torch. Oh, that's Lois.
Right.
That's Lois with the torch, yeah.
And in the next one, there's Susie and Peps going into a room, Lois with her back to us, and me with the torch. Blinding everybody by the looks of things.
Oh, is that you? So that must be you behind me and Stephen. Is that you in a pink jacket?
Oh, yes, it would have been. Yes, it would have been. Yeah,
that's you. You're blinding everyone.
I'm blinding everyone with the torch. Trust Tracy to blind everyone. Yeah. Yes, Junkers. There was some fantastic photos taken of that tower.
Yeah.
Ian got some absolute blinders. Lois got some blinders. Susie, you got some as well, didn't you?
Mine were pretty average.
Or was it somebody else?
Great.
Yeah, my phone's crap, so I don't even bother with photos. Colette, hi Colette. Nice to see you. But yeah, there's some fantastic photos. Oh, Stephen, I knew somebody else had taken some photos. Stephen brought the first photo to me, him and Ian, I think, and showed me it. And I turned around and went, oh, ha, 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 AI. And they went, no, it's not. And I didn't believe them. Yeah, I didn't believe them because it was so spectacular.
And I think Stephen got the really good one of the stars, and I don't know if it's the Milky Way or whatever it is as well.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive too, to be quite honest. That one was absolutely beautiful. In fact, some of those photos are worth framing and putting on the wall of that tower with the stars and the Milky Way in the background.
We should send them to the owners and be like, hey.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I've got to touch base with them again because I'm in contact with them. So I must offer them some of those photos.
It was definitely a stunning, clear night on the Saturday.
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah.
So this must be Barbara's laser pen because my laser pen wasn't working and I finally got it working, but it was so weak. It wasn't funny. And I changed the batteries and that didn't do anything. So I've got a faulty laser pen. And that looks like it's outside.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's one of Ian's photos, is it? So thank you to Ian, and Lois and Barbara and whoever else's photos that we used in this. I don't know whose photos we used.
Stephen's. I don't know if he sent any through. Some of them are mine, but yeah, I think predominantly Ian's, Lois's, and mine, I think, and a few other ones that got chucked in that I'm not quite sure where they came from.
So the two on the right is just the laser grid. I think it's my laser grid. I'm not sure.
Yes, yeah, that's your one. Yeah. And that's the door. You can see there that we went outside and the water tower was just out there opposite the barn and the
That's right. Yeah.
morgue. And I think that is it.
That's it. Cool.
That's it for our presentation.
So when we're talking about the experiences that people had, we've already told you about Lois's and mine's with regards to the big grey mist when we saw that jet black dark area turn into a foggy grey mist area. Incidentally, Barbara on the next morning, I think it was, yes, the next morning, went to go and get a coffee, and she realised that the coffee had been left in the dining room, which we used as our base the night before. So she walked from where we were staying and she walked down there and she got herself a coffee. And on the way back, she was looking down into her cup and she looked up just as she was stepping into a mist. So that kind of solidified what Lois and I had seen. It wasn't exactly in the same area, but it wasn't half a dozen steps from where we saw what we saw. So that was quite interesting to have someone else have that experience. Corey had some experience in the toilets where we were staying. And I know he had some experience because he came flying out there like an athlete in the Olympic Games.
That was entertaining.
I asked him what the experience was, and he just said, "Oh man, there's just some really strange noises in there, and it's like I just thought someone was in there." Incidentally, that was the first room that I went into, and when I walked past that room to pick my bedroom before I decided I was going to bunk with you and Pepper in the big room, I opened up the door and I looked in the toilet and I went, yeah, I don't like it in here. And I backed out straight away. And Lois said to me, "Why? What's the matter?" And I said, "It just feels creepy." Now, I went to the toilet plenty of times on my own and I didn't feel anything except the time when I heard a noise coming from the showers across the way. And I said, "Hello?" And Natasha goes, "It's only me." And I was like, oh my God, because I didn't even know she was in there. But no one was in there when Corey came belting out at 100, like, you know, the gold medal sprint winner at the Olympics. So that was Barbara's experience. That was mine and Lois's experience. That's all I can say about Corey's. Natasha was with Barbara and Ian, and she saw what she described as a black person, just a black person that was wearing a hoodie, so she couldn't see their face. And I think she said she saw them walk down the corridor. But I think from memory, Ian and Barbara didn't see it, but they weren't looking in the same area that Natasha was. So Natasha said it was not unlike her build, but there should have been nobody in that area at all because, as she said, when they got back, we were all the rest of us were in the lounge: Pepper, Susie, Lois, myself, Corey, and Stephen. So that was quite interesting to hear that. And
Yeah,
Susie,
hear from Lona. Sorry. The next time you carry out an investigation at a site where you have had experiences, what strategies might you use to try to recreate or capture that encounter again?
Depends on the actual episode or what you've seen or what you think you've seen or what you've heard or what you think you've heard. Knowing where all your investigators are at any one time is first and foremost, and being able to document that on camera at exactly the same time that you think you've seen something or you think you've heard something. But that's a really good point. And no matter what you do, it should be recreated on the spot, because it's no good going back 2 weeks later or 3 months later and trying to recreate it when the moon isn't in the same phase as it was, isn't in the same place in the sky as it was. The temperatures might be different than what they were when you were there. All those sorts of things can come into play so that it can't be recreated. So that's something to think of too. So any recreations you need to do on the spot. And Stephen's just brought up a really good point. And that was, could what Natasha saw have been the owner's son? Yes, I wondered the same thing myself because I met him and he is very much the same build and the same height. And he had a hoodie on at once, because I met him on a couple of occasions, and he had a hoodie on at one stage. So it could very well have been him.
And
I don't know.
He was there.
Yeah, we were aware that he was there, but we were also told that he would be in his cottage, which was the old gardener's cottage, which was in a completely separate building and attached to
the
morgue area and the stables. So you had the morgue, and then you had the stables, and then you had his cottage at the other end. But that is definitely, a possibility, I suppose. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Natasha saw that figure walking down the hallway. So I don't know. Did he gain access? He could very well have. I mean, we don't know whether he has keys to gain access from the outside external door that everyone was going out by the water tower. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if he saw us going in and out there, he might have gone, oh, the door's open, I'll go that way through and see mum and dad,
So I didn't ask him the next morning because I don't know if I was aware of what Natasha had apparently seen the next morning at the time that I went and spoke to them all. So maybe I did, and maybe I just forgot. But yeah, I don't know whether anything's been captured on camera with regards to that. I don't know if there was any cameras still up and running at that stage. But that's a really good point, Stephen. And that was a really good question, Lona. As I say, it depends on the experience that you have. If it's just a feeling, there's nothing that you can do to recreate that feeling except go back in at a later time and see if you get the same feeling. If you have, excuse me, if you have seen something, again, as I say, like if you've captured something in a photo or a video, make sure that you try and recreate it on the spot. That's why I like to flick through photos, or I hope people who are taking them, still footage, they flick through them at the time. I have had to go back once in my lifetime and try and recreate something that was captured in a photo. We made sure we went back at exactly the same moon phase. So it was literally 28 days later. We recalled where everyone was sitting, and we checked with those people when that photo was taken, because there was another photo or subsequent photos taken, number 2, number 3, number 4. So we looked in that photo and saw who was in the room, where they were positioned, and we recreated that, even to the point where someone had their arm up on the back of the couch. We did the same thing, and we did it at the same time of night as well. Just in case there was CCTV that came on and blinked. But we couldn't manage to recreate that one. And that one was actually, that wasn't at Masters. That was at another location I did. That was a massive black hooded figure sitting at a table. It was actually quite, it gives me the chillies thinking about it. But that one couldn't be recreated. But yeah, you've got to recreate as soon as you can recreate, just to make sure all those same things are lining, all your ducks are lining up.
Yeah.
So what was the other experience that you had, Sus?
I mean, there were probably half a
something
dozen
before when we were looking at a photo, and you said, oh, I had an experience, but I'll talk about that later. I can't remember. See, I knew I should have said, no, talk about it now.
Gosh, hang on. Let me just see.
Flick through the photos and see what you can. Do we think Masters Hall is haunted? No, I wouldn't say it's haunted.
Yes, you know,
But
I can't even.
I wouldn't say that it was one of Pepper. Pepper was in it. I wouldn't say anywhere was haunted. All I would say is that there were certain sensations and certain feelings that certain people got at certain times. And yes, I do believe certain people are more susceptible to picking up on things than others. I don't believe it. I know that. Because I've witnessed it over the last 40 years, and I've witnessed people being bang on right about things and saying things where only an hour later there has been some form of occurrence, or there has been some weird photo taken with a anomaly in it that cannot be explained. Oh, Colette said outdoor indoor gallery corridor thing, Susie. Was it there?
Yes, it was.
Thanks,
That's right.
Colette.
So I walked around on the Sunday morning. I walked around the outside of the buildings and took photos.
That's right.
And so where Pepper's looking down that outdoor corridor, to the left, there's a big grass area with a tree in the middle. And I walked into there to take a photo of the nurses' quarters. And there was a gate, a farm gate across the back, so I couldn't go right round. But I got into that area, and as I walked closer to the building, I all of a sudden felt like, I don't know, I was in a different place. And when I looked at the tree looked different. The tree looked smaller. It was green. It wasn't brown, like it had leaves on it, rather than, and I knew it didn't. And so I was looking at the tree confused. And I was looking at the building, and the building looked, and I don't know what it was, but I just felt really disorientated. And so I sort of walked around that area, walked back out. As I walked up the walkway with Pepper, I looked out through the glass, and there's actually like a farm gate in that photo. You can see it. I might just share that screen again, just for that one picture. Yep, go. Share. So there's in this sort of middle here where there's a light, you can see the light stream through. There's a gap, and there's like a wooden fence and a small farm gate that goes out into that grassed area. And when I was walking back through there, I looked out and went, that's where I was just standing. But that tree was green and covered in leaves. And even Pepper stopped and kind of looked down the walkway and looked out. And it was almost as if she was confused as well at where we'd just been previously. So it was really quite an unusual and eerie sensation that, did we just step back in time, or like what just happened? It was just really unusual.
I remember you telling me that and saying that you were really, really confused because that's not what you'd seen when you were out there 10 minutes earlier, 5 minutes earlier. Yeah, Bunny, time slip, question mark? Maybe.
But because we'd had the tour, I was like, I've seen everything. So walking around, I'm like, I've seen all these buildings, but this is different. Why is this different? So I just, because I was so disorientated, I turned and walked back. And then walking down the corridor, I went, oh, wait, whoa. That was where I was, but it was that was different. Where I was, but it was different. So, yeah, or whether it was a time slip, what it was, really unusual. And I had a toilet incident.
In the same toilet?
In the same toilet. Because Pepper came everywhere with me. So she just walked into the cubicle. I sat down, doing my thing. And she started whining, and it was almost a screaming whine. I was like, it's all right, sweetheart. I'll be done in a minute. I'm just peeing. I'll be done. And as I went to open the door, I heard a noise from the opposite shower cubicle. And I thought, someone's having a shower. Sunday morning, first thing in the morning. And I was like, hey, is anyone there? Nothing. Opened it. And I thought I'll just push the door to the cubicle open, the shower open to have a look. And Pepper was like, nah, I'm out of here. And she scratched at the door to get out of that bathroom. She was like, no, we're just getting out of here. So that was...
I'd only literally been there for 5 minutes when I opened up that bathroom door and went, oh, it's creepy in here. I don't like it in there.
And yet I'd been in there so many times on the Saturday, no issues. And I think it was the Saturday night before bed. You were like, come with me because I'm not going by myself.
Yep.
So what's your problem? I've been in there heaps of times tonight by myself. That Sunday morning, I was like, ooh, you know. I didn't feel anything, but she did.
Sorry?
On that Sunday morning, apart from the noise that I heard that sounded like someone that was in there, I didn't feel anything. I was just like, someone's having a shower. But Pepper, she felt something. She was,
Now, I did notice that there was louvers right up the top of the showers and they were open.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So noise could have filtered in from outside. But at the time of the morning that we're talking about, everyone was inside and not getting their act together very quickly from what I remember. We were all kind of a bit sluggish, having done 6 and 7 hour trips. And then straight into investigating and staying up till 2, I think it was 2:30 or whatever it was before we ended up crashing the first night. So, yeah, I always, and people think it's because I'm scared, but it's actually because I want someone to corroborate what occurs if something occurs when I am in the toilet.
Yeah.
Because we've had something like that happen at Larnach Castle when we investigated Larnach Castle. And I said to the person that was going to the toilet, do you want me to come with? And she was like, no, I'll be fine. I should have insisted.
Yeah.
And she went into the toilet and had an experience, which both Barbara, Ian, Cals, and I heard as loud as a bell. And she came running down the stairs with her pants, still doing up her pants, actually. And someone had kicked the door open on her because she never locks the door. Because she'd been locked in a shopping mall. You know those locks that you turn?
Oh,
she'd been locked in a shopping mall before like that. And so she panicked. So she never uses those locks, but puts her foot, sits on the toilet and stretches her foot out and puts her foot up against the door or holds it. And that's what she was doing when we heard a massive slam, which was the door hitting the wall, and her yelling expletives before she bolted downstairs. So I'm always very funny about toilets because a lot of places that I've been to, King's Seat was another example when I went to the toilet there and I said, Susie, come with.
Yeah.
That was a very freaky vibe in that toilet. I've got a thing about toilets in alleged haunted locations, just because I've had so many experiences or seen others have experiences or heard of others. So I'm always like, come with me. I need someone to come with me. Because if something happens, it's going to happen to you too. I need someone to back up what I'm potentially going to say. So yeah, I'd only been there for 5 minutes when I opened up that toilet door, and I think Stephen and Corey were standing there when I said, I don't like this toilet. That's a bit creepy. And then Corey having his incident in the toilet, you having your incident in the toilet. I went to the toilet on a couple of occasions on my own in the dead of the night because I get up 3 times. I'm an old woman to go to the toilet during the night. Especially if I've been drinking a lot of fluids. And that doesn't necessarily mean alcohol because I drink a lot of juice. I drink a lot of orange juice and a lot of V as well.
And you sugar.
Yeah, and especially when it's cold, that makes you go heaps. So I'd been to the toilet a couple of times throughout the night on my own and it was fine. Didn't feel anything. Didn't freak out, didn't think, oh my God, there's someone there. But Corey had his experience. I had mine. Susie had hers. Hubby is 12. Toilet incident. Absolutely. So that was our investigation of Masters. As I said, do we think it's haunted? I would never say a place is haunted, ever. I would just say that there's some sensations, some feelings we got. There were some things that occurred that we don't have an explanation for. Whether or not that's because we didn't do enough attempts to debunk it. I mean, debunking is great, but you've got to temper debunking with not debunking just for the sake of debunking. It needs to be backed up with facts. Excuse me, not assumptions. So make the assumption and then go find out if that assumption was actually a fact. And then you've debunked. So yeah, I can't say that it is. I can't say that it isn't. I do think there's something there. What that something is, I do not know. Is it scary? No. Incidentally, guys, if you're ever down that way, stay. That place is so beautifully clean on the inside and so well restored. It was a real pleasure to stay there. The corridors, all the rooms, spotlessly clean. I couldn't fault it at all. So yeah, and we are going to be returning in the summertime with some more members of our team. And Stephen and Corey from CHB. So that will be cool. It would probably be the last time, maybe, because the owners are looking at selling it. We were lucky. We have been invited back in, so that was really cool, and that has been reiterated to me since then. So really looking forward to heading back there. And yeah,
wedding venue. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic wedding venue as well. Yeah,
and as well.
They do it. They do the whole place up. They've got so many props. It's not. I mean, they've got rooms upon rooms upon rooms of props in their private residence area. And beautiful props. So if you're looking at holding a function there or a wedding there, do it, because it is a conference center as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely do it. Great for team building, exercises for work and stuff like that, going away on a conference and staying there. And you'll be really, really well taken care of. The owners are absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
So I guess that concludes our presentation on our investigation at Masters Hall. It was a lovely, lovely place, and I'm really looking forward to going back there. I can't wait. I know Stephen's looking forward to it. I know you're looking forward to it, Susie. I know Lois is looking forward to it. And next time we'll be dragging out Ethan.
Yeah.
And we'll be dragging Cowls.
Yes.
As well. Yeah. Get the whole team out. That'll be great. All righty. And on that note, does anyone have any questions before we take off? Firstly, before you do, or while you're typing them, thank you to Stephen and Colette and Bunny and Lona and Lois, Marie. Thank you so much for jumping in for the evening. We love to see you guys once a week. As I said,
Doggo.
And Doggo. And Doggo, yeah. Did you say you might be bringing a different dog this time? So
maybe Shelby next time.
Shelby? Okay, cool. Yeah. Shelby had been eating cow poo, Colette, and was not, shall we say, had a very upset stomach. So Susie was a bit concerned about bringing her that time. So that's why she brought Pepper, but Pepper was lovely.
Pepper's fantastic.
She was such a good girl. Yeah, I agree. So Susie's like, maybe I better not take Shelby because the way her stomach's acting up, everyone will be thinking it's a demon in the place.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, guys. And Pepper, not a pig. Yeah, Pepper, not a pig. No, she's a real kitty. We are going to, as I say, we've got some more changes coming to the channel. So these lives on Friday are now going to be happening at 7 p.m., not 8 p.m. Excuse me, a little bit earlier. In the new year, we're going to be dropping 2 episodes a week. The lives are going to change to Sunday nights. And the videos are going to be dropped on Friday nights, both at 7 p.m. And we are going to have a few other changes, which we will just hold off telling you about for the now. But these changes with regards to the format and dropping twice a week are not going to happen until the new year. There was something else I was going to say, dang it, and I've forgotten it. Oh, next week. Next week, in light of The Conjuring coming out this week, we are going to be showcasing a paranormal case file of the Smell haunting, which the Conjuring, the last Conjuring movie, is based on, supposedly. And in amongst all of that, 3 of Quantum members, the Hamilton contingent, are heading out tomorrow night to actually go and see The Conjuring. So we will report back to you next week on that. So spoiler alert, if you we won't tell you what happens in it, but we will just tell you what our thoughts were on the matter. Excuse me. I got a tickle. Excuse me. Oh, there we go.
Go die quietly and then come back and tell us what it's like.
Oh, shut up. So yeah, we'll talk about the Smell haunting. I've done a fair bit of research into that. I've got a fair bit more to go. But there's a lot of things that I've managed to what's the word I'm looking for? Not debunk. Correct. Due to being able to actually watch a video of them being interviewed actually at the time that the hauntings were occurring. So we'll talk about all that next week. Until then, thanks for coming on, guys. We'll see you next Friday at 8 p.m. and stay dry. Until then, night all.